Hello, thanks for clicking. I'm Mark Morse. Today I'm entering the Vinyl Richie contest. He's 11 years in the vinyl community and he is sponsoring a contest. Of course, you've seen his videos, you know what the contest entails and you know what the prizes are and when the deadline is. So I am just going to jump right into this. So this is 11 offensive album titles, song lyrics, that sort of thing. And I'm going to try to do it in less than 11 minutes. So I'm going to start off with The Doors. This is their debut album. There is a song on here, just an iconic song called The End. Now The End references the story of Oedipus Rex. And if you remember, Oedipus ended up killing his father and making love to his mother. Jim Morrison references this story in The End. Let me read you the lyrics. The killer awoke before dawn. He put his boots on. He took a face from the ancient gallery and he walked on down the hall. He went into the room where his sister lived and then he walked on down the hall. Oh, he paid a visit to his brothers, what he did. And then he walked on down the hall and he came to a door and he looked inside. Father, yes, son, I want to kill you. Mother, I want to... And there's where it's implied. He doesn't say it in the song lyric, but I know in live concerts and stuff, he often would. There's a funny story in the book, No One Here Gets Out Alive, where they tell the story of when Jim Morrison's mother went to one of his concerts, and he sings the line right to her, and it would just have been incredibly uncomfortable for anybody around, I assume. Now, sometimes it's just the album title itself that is offensive, and it maybe uses offensive words. I've talked about this album before. This is Neil Young's Effin' Up. It's a double album. I really like this album. Vinyl Sean turned me on to it. I was trying to decide what to get next in the Neil Young catalog, and you know how tough it can be these days. Effing Up could be considered offensive. And along the same lines, Lana Del Rey. Now, up there you can see NFR. But what NFR stands for is Norman Effin' Rockwell. Norman Effin' Rockwell. Can you believe that? Could be considered offensive. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention a certain artist that offended everybody when I was growing up. That's Alice Cooper. There's so many songs I could choose. But on Billion Dollar Babies is a song called I Love the Dead. I Love the Dead. And it's just about what you would think it was about. Necrophilia. Necrophilia. Considered offensive to some people. I know my dad did not like that song. This is Frank Zappa's Shake Your Booty. There is so much offensive on this album. It is so offensive. There's so many things to choose from. But I decided to go with a song called Bobby Brown. I was trying to find a verse that I could read to you on YouTube without... I don't know, having my channel tore down and burned. I could not find a verse, but believe me, Bobby Brown is the evolution of a young man. It's a sexual evolution, and what he starts off with ends up being totally different by the end. And by the end, I know you're going to be surprised. Now, one of my favorite bands is the Pogues, and I've shown these albums so many times, but I was just going through my album collection trying to find albums that had something offensive in it. It was really easy. Rock and roll is really easy to find things that are offensive. This is If I Should Fall From Grace with God. There's a song on here called Bottle of Smoke. This is another song. I'm not going to be able to read the lyrics to you, but go check them out. It's the story of a man who goes to the racetrack and he bets his money on a horse named Bottle of Smoke, and he gets very excited when Smoke wins. The thing is, the F-bomb is in that song so many times, it may be a world record. When I was in, I think it was junior high school, I was dating a woman, a young girl, I guess, named Penny. And we were looking at a Fleetwood Mac album that everybody has these days. It's called Rumors. And I was looking at it. I didn't have any weird feelings about it. And then she said, "That thing is so dirty." And I said, "What are you talking about?" I was not a real observant young man. But there is something in here. I'm not going to point it out or make it obvious, but there is something in here that could be considered offensive. Rolling Stones. Now, they were just, they love being offensive. They love being shocking. There's lots of songs I could point to. I'm sure we've all sang along with the chorus of Brown Sugar. Look up the lyrics to that song. That's offensive, but that's not what I'm referencing today. There's a song on here. This is a Beggar's Banquet called Stray Cat Blues. I can read these words to you. I would say people might take offense to these lyrics, but Stray Cat Blues apparently is about Mick, or maybe it's not Mick. Maybe it's some fictional character. That's what I'm hoping for. Some character inviting young women to his room, very young women. So the lyrics go like this: "I can see that you're 15 years old. No, I don't want your ID. And I can see that you're so far from home, but that's no hanging matter. It's no capital crime." And then later it goes on to talk about her friend. "You say you got a friend that she's wilder than you. Why don't you bring her upstairs? If she's so wild, then she can join in too. It's no hanging matter. It's no capital crime." So 15 years old, to me this could be considered an offensive song. This probably was played on Epstein's Island quite a bit, but it was very popular. In Get Your Ya-Ya's Out, a live version of this song, I think he even takes 15 down lower, like 14 or 13. I'm not positive. I have to listen to it again, but I remember thinking that he even lowered it further on that album. Even My Beloved Beatles can be considered offensive. Now, what I'm holding here is the Beatles yesterday and today. Now, this is a little special. This is what's called the Second State Butchers album. So under this slick is a picture that originally came out on the Yesterday and Today. It was almost immediately called back and they slapped this over it. I'm not going to explain how I know that picture's under here, and I'm going to show a little picture in the screen here somewhere just so you can see what it is. But under here is the Beatles covered with pieces of meat and doll parts. People were really offended by that. There's lots of stories behind that, but I talk about this album in another video, so that's where you go if you want to learn more about that. Vinyl Richie also is convinced there's something going on down here in George's nether parts that could also be considered offensive. The Beatles, but your cover. John and Yoko put out an album called Two Virgins. What's under this plain brown cover could shock you. It is John and Yoko completely naked, nothing left to the imagination. There's the front of them, there's the back of them. People were outraged and offended by this album. If you think the picture is offensive, try to listen to this thing. And then I'm going to end with one of my favorite offensive lyrics of all time. This is the Clash, London Calling. Just a classic record. there is a song on here called Death or Glory, and it's one of my favorite quotes from The Clash, and it's about rock and rollers going out and making their name by being anti-establishment and then becoming zillionaires. So this is the lyric. Every gimmick, hungry yob digging gold from rock and roll grabs the mic to tell me he'll die before he's sold. But I believe in this, and it's been proven by research. He who F's nuns will later join the church. So that is my 11 offensive song lyrics, titles, album covers, etc. for Vinyl Richie's contest. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Vinyl Richie, for this fantastic contest.